In an uncertain economy, most business owners have to figure a way to make ends meet. This is the reason why there are some 10 practices that most businesses today, you're going to have to literally adopt them in order for you to thrive in today's uncertain economy, especially in 2025 with rising tariffs, shifting consumer debts, along with like consumer habits also, coupled with tighter credit. Today, you cannot do business the same way you normally would do business. So the number one thing you got to do here is called prioritizing cash flow over profit. What do I mean by that? You see, it matters because profit is theoretical. However, cash flow is survival in moments like this. So you have to monitor your cash daily, renegotiate all your payments to be sure that the payment terms are favorable to the new economic climate, delay unnecessary expenses. All of these are all best practices when it comes to prioritizing your cash flow. Number two is diversifying revenue streams. And why does this matter? You can't rely on one product, anymore, or on one client anymore. That's dangerous in today's environment. In fact, the market is too volatile. So you got to have to introduce like how to upsell. And in addition to upsell subscriptions, digital products, or even niche services, you're going to have to introduce that. Number three is to embrace what we call a digital first. What do I mean by that? You got to invest, literally, either in SEO or content marketing, for example, Instagram or TikTok, Reels and e-commerce channels, etc., etc. Because today it's all about what your eyeballs. So the more visible you are, the more people see your business, the better it's going to be because it matters because your online presence equals your visibility, which equals your scalability. Number four is build a very lean team of contractors. You see, right now, you got to think about how to hire freelancers, like contractors that come do a project for you and then move on. You need to be able to make sure both your admin, including your tech. So instead of hiring full-time support, you could just hire like people specifically for a project. When the project is over, you move on. The reason is this: payroll is the number one fixed cost killer. So if your payroll is fixed, but meanwhile your business is up and down, then you're going to struggle with payroll. But by doing it this way, you're giving yourself a little more flexibility. Number five is to raise prices strategically. What do I mean by that though? You can say this item is $100, but I'm going to make it $200 overnight. You will shock your customer. Customers don't like that. However, though, okay, if you do bundle practices and services, if you offer like a tiered pricing, for example, or even if you use like premium packaging to justify increases, most people will be reasonable to that, especially if you use inflation, because inflation has now normalized higher pricing. So things are going up by your 3%, your 5%, your 8%, your 10%. You could use that to take advantage because people accept the fact that inflation is real and they're going through it. They will accept that. But you can't just shock your customers with a doubling, of your product pricing. Number six is to leverage AI and automation. You see, a lot of people only use AI for chat GPT just to prompt. No, it's way more than that. It can make your life a lot easier today. You could use tools. Chat GPT is good for content, for example. You need like Zapier for workflows, and you need CRM automation for follow ups. But efficiency saves time, efficiency saves money. Another one that you probably want to take a very good look at, is called building a recurring relationships, not one time sales. Okay, you see, there's something we call the lifetime value, LTV, lifetime value. That's when it comes to economic buffer. And the best practices in this case would be how to launch like loyalty programs, for example. You see how some hotels and transportation companies, etc., they all have, even the airline, they all have their loyalty programs. You could have a loyalty program for your business. So that where people that come to you so many number of times get a discount program for their so many repeat business. But a loyalty program will help. A follow-up sequences is very, very important. And of course, servicing contracts. These are all different ways for you to max out on building a reoccurring relationships when it comes to your business. Number eight. Number eight is to negotiate everything. Let me say that again. Negotiate everything. Every dollar saved is every dollar earned. So you got to negotiate with vendors, negotiate with contractors, ask for early pay discounts. If I pay early, do I get a 10% discount if I pay soon? Or co-market, for example, with smaller businesses. But these are creative ideas to allow you to thrive in an uncertain economy. Number nine, know your numbers. In one of the videos that went super viral in the School of Hard Knocks, I had mentioned something about, one my mentor told me something very profound. Fall in love with people, fall in love with sales, and fall in love with numbers. Okay, numbers are very, very important. The reason why is because your emotion can lead you one way, but numbers will lead you to another. But in business, we know one thing, that your emotion can lead you to a very thin margin if you don't have numbers, like under control. So because of that, you're gonna have to track your profit margins, customer acquisition cost like a CAC, return on ad spend, for example, and a burn rate on a monthly basis. You need to know these numbers. These numbers will only allow you to be able to have a very definitive, like predictable business where if you do this and this, then the outcome is that and that. You can't talk about outcome without studying and doing data analysis. This is the reason why a good businessman, a good businesswoman, they know their numbers. They let their numbers lead them to the next step. Number 10, stay visible and valuable. Okay, why does this matter? Okay, in a recession, people still spend money. They just spend it a little more carefully. So you have to show up consistently, for example, whatever it is you're doing. So let's say I'm going to be using social media. You have to be very consistent on social media. It's not you show up when you feel like it. No, it's a schedule, and you get on that schedule. Then you train your audience. So your audience know at social time you're going to be there. For example, on my Instagram, I go live 1 o'clock, Monday to Friday. People know that. So when they see it's 1 o'clock, people are already logging on. Why? Because I prep myself and I condition my audience to the time that I'm going to be available for them. So you have to show up consistently on social media. You got to educate your audience. You got to solve real problems with every post, every email, every event. By the way, if you're not following me, I highly suggest that you subscribe, like, and share so that you can continue to share very valuable information to keep your business moving in the right direction for you. This is Dr. Kennedy Thomas. Looking forward to see you in my next series.